Hello everyone. So for this video, I was asked by somebody to redraw one of their original digital paintings, and so I figured this would be a good opportunity to make a video. We're going to be talking about portraiture and how to make a digital portrait. So in this case, this video is going to be fairly short. I'm going to fast forward through most of the drawing, and I'm just going to be talking over top, and we're really going to cover just from the initial sort of base sketches all the way to the line work, and then the second video that I'm going to upload is going to be the coloring and the overpainting and sort of final rendering techniques. So here you can see that I have the original artwork by Shikio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I have a couple reference images on the side just to help me out. So first things first, we're going to create a new canvas, and I'm going to make it square because, of course, I'm going to be putting this on Instagram. And I'm going to start by creating a few new layers and then toning the background to like this mid-tone, very desaturated purple color. And then I'm just going to start knocking in the basic shapes of the face. So here I'm adding the eyes, the nose, the mouth. I'm not really focusing on any details here. I'm just trying to get the general positioning and size of all the different elements. All that detail stuff I'm going to add in later on. So here I'm trying to map out the drawing within the page itself. One thing that I'm trying to focus on here is not only proportion, but like an overall flow to the image. I want it to harmonize really nicely. I want all the elements to draw your attention up to the focal point, which is of course the face and the eyes. I also decided to do the lips in a different layer just because I started off drawing them sort of the way I normally draw lips, which is just to have this like closed mouth, somewhat pouty look. But I figured I kind of do this all the time, and so I wanted to stay true to the original image and have her tongue sticking out, and so hence the reference images. And for this one I started doing the tongue sticking out on the side, which actually looked pretty good. I resized it just to get the sizing a little bit better, and I thought it turned out pretty well. I did attempt a third sort of option, I guess fourth, third, whatever. So I tried another option in which the tongue is sticking out on the front, sort of closer to what the original image was, but I wasn't 100% happy with it. I mean, it's not that it was bad, it's just I felt like the previous option with the tongue sticking on the side worked a lot better. I thought it had much more character to it, and so I stuck with that. So now that I'm finished the general planning, sorry, I'm zooming out, I'm flipping the image back and forth to see if everything looks okay, and then I'm gonna essentially drop the opacity and start to go over some of those lines and really start to commit to my drawing. So here I'm just knocking in the hair. I'm focusing more so on like the large basic shapes of the image as opposed to any fine details just yet. I'll focus on all that stuff later on, but right now I really just wanted to get all those large bulky shapes out of the way. And especially when it comes to hair, you really want to think of hair as large masses as opposed to individual strands. One, it makes your life a lot easier because you don't have to draw each individual strand of hair. And two, you want the hair to flow all together in a particular way. If you're focusing too much on each individual strand, then you risk losing the big picture. So here I'm trying to do the drawstrings of the hoodie. And even when it comes to the face, I'm trying to keep everything as simple and clean as possible. Here I'm going to actually start doing all the different elements of the face on different layers, just so that if I need to alter and adjust them later on, I do have that option and I don't risk having to mess up the rest of the image. This is going to save you a lot of headache later on. I did try to do some eyelashes. They weren't really turning out well, so I figured I'll leave that to the very end, and I just kept it really, really simple. Here you can see that I wasn't quite happy with the chin. I felt it was a little too large and pointy, so I did trim it down a little bit. It does make her look a little bit younger, a little bit cuter, so I felt like this looked a lot more natural than the way it was before. And this is probably the best stage in which to make large sort of changes and adjustments before you start really rendering it. Here I'm trying to decide whether or not that hair on the side of her head is going to be in front of her bangs or behind it. Tried a couple options, and then I kind of decided to put the hair behind the bangs. Here I'm just adding a few lines of detail just to get the flow of the hair. And then I drop the opacity and I go over those lines one more time to really clean it up. And again, notice that the facial features are all on separate layers. So here I decided to actually keep the image cut off at the shoulder, keeping true to the original image. For the drawstrings, I do them nice and loose, and then I start going in with the eraser and carving out that space in between, and it gives you a nice clean parallel line. Again, here, for some reason, I still wasn't sure about the hair and the bangs. I sort of second-guessed myself a little bit, and then decided to go back to my original plan. Here I'm trying to get that really nice curve of that one sort of strand of hair that's coming off the side. I really like the way that it was done in the original image, and I was trying to replicate that same feeling of like a loose strand just sort of popping off, giving it a little more volume, a little more life. I'm also keeping the bottom of the hair really, really simple, just a curve sort of coming in towards the body. Now here, I wasn't entirely all too happy with the way that one strand was looking. I did try to clean it up as much as I could, but something, I don't know, just felt a little bit off. You can see in the original image here that it's actually divided into multiple segments as it's coming down, and so I felt like that was actually a really good idea, and so I tried to replicate that by breaking up the hair a little bit more. Here was a little bit too low, so I do end up changing it, lifting it up a little bit, and giving it a lot more of a curve. So now I was finally happy with it, and it turned out the way that I wanted to by the end. So after a bit of trial and error, usually it works out. Here I'm flipping back and forth between the two just to make sure that it's what I want, and it is. And again here, another thing to keep in mind is that you really want to focus on not just the individual elements and the details, but the overall silhouette of the image, because that's essentially the first thing that's going to be read when somebody looks at your picture, is what's the overall sort of silhouette or shape of the entire image. And if that reads really nicely, if it flows really well, then your image is actually going to be a lot more successful right off the bat. Here I'm adding a couple other loose strands. So here I also saw that in the original image, her bangs are actually divided into like multiple bands. And so I tried to see if that would work on mine. I tried replicating it, and I don't know, I felt like I added too much. Like it just felt a little too busy. There's too much going on, and I really like the simplicity of the image. Overall, it came off very, very simple, and I really wanted to keep that within my drawing. So I did go back to my original where I just have these sort of 3 major clumps, and I just left it as is. Sometimes less is more. So now here I'm fixing that curve on the back of her head, and for some reason this one strand on the back that I tried to replicate, it just wasn't turning out for some reason. I tried this like 100 times and it just wasn't coming out. I don't know, there was just something off about it. Like I just couldn't get it to seem natural. And it was breaking the silhouette up in a really weird way that I didn't like. So here's me trying over and over to get that one strand to look the way that I want it to. I even tried just blocking in a large dark area and then carving out the negative space, figuring maybe that might give me some better results. But still no. So here I actually ended up dropping the hair a little bit, adding a little more of a bulge to the bottom, just to give it that sense of weight and that the hair is actually being held up by the hoodie. It seemed to help a little bit, but I still wasn't 100% sure about it. And so at one point I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on something else and come back to it later on. So now I'm trying to do the actual hood on the hoodie, which this for some reason also gave me a really hard time. I had to do like a bunch of different variations of it and just touching it up. But eventually I did find something that I liked. And what's interesting is that once I got the hoodie down, or the hood of the hoodie down the way that I wanted it to, the that one strand on the back of the hair, actually, it started to look okay, like it came out more the way I wanted it to. So yeah, sometimes you just need a break from that one thing that's really bothering you, and yeah, you take a break, you come back to it, and for some reason it works out. So don't get focused too much on one area for too long. Try to work on your entire image all at once. That way you also manage to keep a nice harmony throughout the image and not have a drawing that looks like it's just a bunch of separate elements glued together. So here I was thinking about adding an arm, but I felt that I'll try to stick to the original drawing. Keep it cut off, and I did like the silhouette that it was creating. So here I'm adding these sort of light details on the shoulder. I don't know if they were supposed to be continuations of the drawstrings from the hoodie or if they were just designs on the shoulder. For mine, I just put them as designs, and here again I'm filling in the shape entirely and then carving out that space in the middle. So here the drawing is more or less finished. I did forget to put the eyebrows earlier, so I did add them in now at the end. I did also try a couple of variations of eyebrows, but I felt like they were giving her a really weird expression. So by the end, I just ended up keeping the original ones. So now I'm just adding in some small little details here and there, but overall the drawing is pretty much complete. And any other details we're really going to get in when we start doing the overpainting. So that's when you're really going to get those small nuances and all those different light effects within the hair. So right now I really just wanted to focus on the line work itself. And I thought that it turned out pretty well. So I guess this is more of a preference for you guys as the viewers. This video was very sped up and just had me narrating over top, as compared to a video where it would be an hour long and it would just have me going through every little decision that I'm making in every little process in real time. My only concern with that was that if the video is way too long, I'd end up losing most of the viewers. So I tried this one that's a lot more short and concise. Let me know what you think of it, if you prefer this style, or if you would rather that I sort of have these hour-long videos in which I go through excruciating detail of every little thing that I do. I mean, in theory, I can technically do both. Yeah, just, I guess, if you guys have a preference, please let me know. And I'll try to cater my videos to whatever you guys seem to like the most. So that's it for the line work. In the next video, I'm going to be doing the the coloring and the overpainting and any sort of small details at the end. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was somewhat informative, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.